Welcome to Redacted Tonight. This is the show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, you might be thinking, Lee, don't you think everything about Epstein has already been said? Over the past year, we've had wall-to-wall coverage of Epstein. In fact, he was so tired of seeing his face on television that he killed himself, then chopped his body into pieces and dumped them in the middle of the Atlantic. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows. But before that, we had wall-to-wall coverage on mainstream media. I mean, there's a Netflix series about him, for God's sake. He's bigger than Fuller House. Well, the answer is no. There's still a crucial side of the Epstein story that has been covered up. But before that, let's do a quick refresher that could take roughly 2 or 3 days. Jeffrey Epstein was a rich man who looked like a pedophile and turned out to be a pedophile. What are the odds? Trump's former labor secretary, Alex Acosta, happened to be the one who had prosecuted Epstein in 2008 and gave him a really brutal prison sentence of basically never having to show up for prison. Apparently, the state of Florida was sympathetic to the legal argument that Epstein needed to be in his office in order to continue his pedophilia work. Understandable. But you have to realize that Epstein was also good friends, very, very close friends, with people like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Alan Dershowitz, Prince Andrew, former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, and others. Epstein would rope teenage girls into sex trafficking and use his high-level connections to avoid actual prosecution, where prisoners have to actually be in the prison. Then it all came crashing down last year. Epstein was arrested for real this time and charged for real this time. But while awaiting trial in New York City before he could reveal what he knew about so many powerful men, the cameras around his prison cell shut off, the guards both fell asleep simultaneously, and Epstein was heard screaming just before he apparently strangled himself, breaking bones in his neck that usually only break during homicide. But as horrific as that is not the part that's still being covered up. Investigation Discovery recently came out with a special, Who Killed Jeffrey Epstein? According to journalist Elizabeth Voss, the series addresses Epstein's alleged co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, his links with billionaire Leslie Wexner, founder of Victoria's Secret clothing line, and others, as well as the non-prosecution deal he was given by Acosta. The special followed on the heels of Netflix's release of Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich, a miniseries that draws on a book of the same name. Who would have thought the guy behind Victoria's Secret had connections to sex traffickers? I would have thought he'd spent his downtime singing with the church choir. Maybe building those ships in the bottles. But as salacious as all of that is still not the part that's being covered up. Now, the part of the story completely avoided by the mainstream media and both recent docu-series is Epstein's ties to Israeli intelligence. In an interview with Consortium News, former Israeli intelligence officer Ari Ben-Menashe said Epstein did not work with Mossad, but rather Israeli military intelligence. In his recent book, Ben-Menashe is quoted as saying Epstein worked with Robert Maxwell, who introduced his daughter and Epstein to Israeli intelligence, after which they engaged in a blackmail operation for Israel. Epstein was taking photos of politicians fucking 14-year-old girls. If you want to get it straight, Epstein and Maxwell would just blackmail people. Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, was basically Israeli royalty. He was buried in a state funeral in Israel on the Mount of the Olives after dying in a mysterious accident on his yacht. You know, I've always said, it may look like fun to own a yacht, but they are a hitman's paradise. For some reason, hitmen love to whack people on yachts. I don't know if it's just that they want to have a nice memory of their time spent killing you, or they like the sunsets, or what, but they love a fucking yacht. Not only did Netflix and Investigation Discovery avoid the Israeli intelligence angle altogether, they avoided the larger picture entirely. In perhaps the only mention that Epstein is part of a much larger operation, Elizabeth Voss says the final section of the 4th episode in Netflix's series includes a survivor stating that this was not simply an Epstein operation, but an international sex trafficking ring that reached all over the world. Epstein is described as a very small piece in a huge network, but the documentary goes no further than that. So the mainstream media is using the bad apple defense, just like they do with the police. Epstein was just a bad apple. If it hadn't been for Epstein, the sex trafficking of children would have been working just fine. You say you want to defund the sex trafficking, but if that happened, then who would traffic all the sex? Huh? Yeah, you don't want to talk about those questions, do you? Do you? And there's more evidence that Epstein was connected to Israeli intelligence and possibly American intelligence as well. Investigation Discovery and Netflix's programs discuss the role of former Labor Secretary Acosta in securing Epstein's sweetheart plea deal, but do not reference Acosta's widely reported explanation as to why Acosta agreed to the deal. As reported by the Daily Beast, Acosta claimed that he cut the non-prosecution deal because he had been told that Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. So no less than the Secretary of Labor has said Jeffrey Epstein was intelligence. And you either have to take that seriously, or you have to say, but the Secretary of Labor is a joke. This whole government is corrupt, uninformed, it's a shit show. And to that I respond, exactly, I've been saying that for years. Finally, you agree. So either way, I win. All right, so we have all these connections to Israeli intelligence. We have connections to presidents and British royalty and prime ministers. We have all the people who have helped make sure Epstein's empire could run smoothly. The people who supplied the girls, who helped cover things up. The corporations who benefited from the massive amounts of money that was just thrown around. Time to bring all those people in for questioning and prosecution. Here we go. Buckle your seatbelts. Hang on to your pants. Lead, follower, get out of the way. Watch out. Who are we prosecuting? Who's going down? Hello? Is this thing on? More than 9 months since Epstein's death, no alleged Epstein co-conspirator has been arrested or charged with a crime, despite reports of an active criminal investigation of Ghislaine Maxwell, who has completely disappeared. These recent exposés, which seem to reveal the dark secrets of the Epstein story, actually serve to cover up one of the most important parts. They allow viewers to believe they've heard the full details, that they know the truth, finally. But at the end of the day, the filmmakers and the mainstream media have used one criminal to protect the rest. Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast, this is Redacted tonight.
Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we've got our soul. Let's roll, never get their control. They got their money, but we've got our soul.
Welcome, America and the world. I'm Lee Camp. Now let's take the news from behind. The deadliest corporate crime in U.S. history ended this month with electric company PG&E pleading guilty to 84 counts of manslaughter after setting Paradise, California ablaze. The mainstream media has made clear that this is the highest amount of manslaughter a company has ever copped to. But it's not at all the deadliest corporate crime. Not even close. Chevron killed thousands and destroyed the rainforest in what is known lovingly as the Amazonian Chernobyl, and then sued their own victims. HSBC admitted to laundering drug cartel billions, and they were fined 5 weeks of their income for it. Dow Chemical knowingly released toxins into Michigan's waters for decades. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, etc. pushed predatory loans on people, then stole millions of homes when it came crashing down. You may think that didn't kill anyone, but it's estimated that over 10,000 suicides were tied to the economic crisis. Purdue Pharma knowingly caused the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans by pushing opioids on them. Then, of course, there's weapons makers like Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, but they don't count because killing people is their business, see? So that's all well and good. So when you add it all up, murdering 84 people, PG&E is a fucking saint. They're the good guys. 84 people is nothing. That's a coffee break for Purdue Pharma. That's one puff of an afternoon cigarette for Monsanto or Raytheon. Could it be? Could it be? I'm just spitballing here. Could it be that the most powerful entities on the planet, the largest corporations controlling trillions of dollars, could it be that they're psychopaths? That they're psychopaths and we let them advertise on all of our TV channels, putting brain parasites in us that then later are vomited out of our idea holes? Hey, Doc, should I try Oxycontin? Blah. Raytheon helps our country's innovation. Blah. Nestle helps to get water to those who need water. Blah. We let them put it on TV and the radio and the computer screen. It's like having 60-second spots every half hour telling the nation what a great gardener John Wayne Gacy was. Yeah, I heard he was a genius with orchids. I guess the human corpse is made for top-notch fertilizer. Every time these companies kill people or sicken people or destroy 100 miles of lush forest, our liberal thought leaders, the media, the politicians, the people who starred in the Avengers and think that makes them Nelson Mandela, all those people go, that is bad that that company killed so many. We should be angry that that corporation left the asbestos in the man. But they never go, why in the name of all that is holy do we let these corporations exist? And not just exist, but own our government. Chevron should not get a fine for causing a genocide in Ecuador. They should get the corporate death penalty. But no. Instead, we let Chevron exist, and we let them make ads that say, Black Lives Matter. Racism has no place in America. That's a real ad. Are you fucking kidding me? Although I do like that Chevron made their slogan, the human energy company, because they really do take humans, churn them up into organic sludge, and then use that to power the world. So they truly are the human energy company. Basically, we're in the gas tanks. Hold on, I'm being told we have breaking news. It came out a few days ago, but it's breaking news because it has to do with how our government is breaking. Under the dual-pronged stress of trying to fuse together a patriotic desire to destroy other nations, on one hand, with an equivalent patriotic desire to destroy every American who doesn't have a 2-car garage or above. And if you're living with your extended family inside a 2-car garage, that does not count, all right? That does not, if you share your sleeping space with a tricycle, you cannot be accepted into the upper class. Anyway, the breaking news is this. Not long ago, the FBI testified to Congress that they are no longer designating black activists as domestic terrorists or black identity extremists in order to surveil them. You can see how easy that made it for the FBI to violate people's privacy. All they had to do was decide, 1, are you black? And 2, have you ever mentioned that perhaps maybe things could be a little better for black people in this country? If the answer is yes to both those, then boom, you are a black identity extremist. You have terrorized this country long enough with your stringent militarist signage and your holier-than-thou skin color. We don't know when you might snap, wreaking havoc on your neighborhood Starbucks. And by snap, I mean glaring momentarily at the barista who wrote a racial epithet on the side of your grande almond milk latte. But the FBI testified they are no longer doing that, no longer surveilling people like that. However, Media Justice and the ACLU revealed that the FBI is still surveilling black activists using a dating designation they testified to Congress was no longer in use. Of 1 million pages of documents responsive to a FOIA request, up to 1/3 of the pages are on open investigations of black people as domestic terrorist threats for potential black identity activities. Yeah, it's true. The FBI has lied to us. I feel betrayed. I feel like I did when I found out Santa Claus was sleeping with my mother. He's old and out of shape. She can do much better. He uses little people slave labor. He's not a good guy, Mom. Point is, the FBI continues to stereotype every black activist as some kind of terror threat, when in fact millions of black people are involved in perfectly peaceful, non-violent activism. And in fact, black identity terrorism is incredibly rare, if it exists at all, with the exception of Ja Rule. But in the FBI's defense, they stereotype white identity activists too. For example, a few months ago, a group of white armed gunmen walked around Kentucky's Capitol building, and they were stereotyped as not a problem. Furthermore, some white identity police officers terrorize black communities in America, and they are stereotyped as good guys. So, as you can see, white dudes with guns are often judged without even knowing them. My people have been labeled as not a threat for far too long. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you, good sir, continue to act as if we are all the same, as if all white folks are not a threat. Who do you think runs PG&E? We can be dangerous. I myself am dangerous. But no, you can't see that because all you see is my skin color. I'm dangerous. Of course, I could also mention that there's a long history in this country of government agencies working hard to declare black people enemies of the state. And it seems the FBI continues at that task. But, in the FBI's defense, in their double defense, they have always been racist twat bags. Way to stand by your principles, FBI. You've been racist this long. Why not see it through to the end, huh? What's the end? I don't know, but I can tell it's close. Let's hurry it up, okay? It's called the end of days, not the end of weeks. Let's move it along. I've got things to do. Let's finish her up, FBI. I would not be a good defense lawyer. I don't think I'm helping their cause right now. We have to go to a short break, but if you're watching this on YouTube, there's something you need to know. We will soon not be putting the full episodes of Redacted Night up on YouTube. Instead, full episodes will be available on the free streaming app, Portable TV. We will still be putting all of the Redacted Night segments on YouTube, so don't worry about that, but the full episodes will be on Portable TV. I'll be right back with a lot more. Welcome back. I'm still Lee Camp. Remember when the meat industry scared Americans into thinking we'd never again see bacon on a grocery store shelf unless Trump forcibly reopened plants that were hotbeds for coronavirus? Those good times. Well, it turns out the industry faked a U.S. meat shortage to force workers to keep exporting meat overseas. For more now, we go to our full-time meat correspondent, Natalie McGill.
Hello, Lee.
Hey, Natalie. It seems pretty heinous that the meat industry acted as if pork chops would disappear into thin air. especially when you consider the tens of thousands of workers these CEOs put at risk after reported COVID-19
Okay, all
outbreak.
right, Lee, shut up for a second. All right, these companies only lied because they know Americans don't like it when the U.S. helps other countries unless there's a hit song about it. And there isn't enough internet bandwidth for a Zoom version of We Are the World with the same number of people. Plus, most of them were either taken out by fentanyl or too old to figure out how to unmute themselves. Though if Stevie Wonder figures out how to unmute before Lionel Richie, then we'll know Stevie was faking it this whole fucking time.
No. What have I told you about your Stevie Wonders and blind conspiracy theories? What about the real conspiracy to keep slaughterhouses open just to satisfy trade deals with other countries? Plant workers died from COVID-19 just so someone in China could get hot dogs or pork chops or ribs.
Whoa. Or you act like we sent them the good stuff. I mean, Smithfield is one of the largest U.S. pork companies owned by a Chinese pork producer, and even Smithfield said much of what is exported are items that attract little or no interest from domestic consumers, such as the pig's feet, snouts, and tails, and that exports had declined as production slowed amid the pandemic. So only witches would be upset we export snouts and tails. And the way our country's going, I bet the cast of Charmed will still find a coronavirus vaccine before Big Pharma. So even if the meat industry did export over 129,000 tons of pork to China in April alone, we still gave them the worst fucking parts of the pig.
129,000 tons? Is that what you said? Even with slower production, that's not a shortage. It's just our corporate-owned government forcing workers to risk their lives for their jobs and the lives of their families.
Lee, these jobs were risky pre-COVID-19. And exports keep these businesses alive. So if anything, plant workers are more worried about job security, just like any other bartender or White House cabinet member. I mean, can you even imagine if these plants shut down permanently and America went without regular access to meat?
Yes, I can. We'd have less pollution because factory farming is one of the biggest sources of carbon emissions on the planet. These processing plants have literal pig lagoons of shit releasing insane amounts of methane, causing ocean dead zones, using up
Wait. Pig lagoons are a thing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's just what I've been geotagging the houses of cops in my neighborhood who have above ground swimming pools. Fuck! Now I gotta change it, damn it! I even changed my Google Maps GPS voice to Carl Winslow from Family Matters just so there'd be a cop telling me to make a left or right at Pig Lagoon.
Well, that's all right. Just change the voice to a celebrity or singer like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Stevie Wonder.
Lee, if Stevie Wonder is blind, then how can he tell me where I'm going?
Damn. All right. That's a good point. Thanks for joining me, Natalie.
Thanks, Lee.
Now it's time to talk about some of the other developing stories. Here with me is Redacted correspondent Anders Lee.
Hey, Lee.
Anders, what have you got for us tonight?
Well, 2 Democratic consulting firms have signed on to a pledge, a no-cop money pledge that some community activists have started that is asking politicians and consulting firms not only to reject money from police unions, but super PACs as well. Because a lot of times you have local politicians who say, like, yeah, I don't take any police union money, but they're getting it under the table from these super PACs, and this pledge would weed that out. Because this has been a big problem for decades now.
Do we trust them when they pledge anything?
I mean, if we have the records, that's one thing. We can get them in the room and interrogate them, like cops do, a little good cop, bad cop. But I think we do have to stick to more
good cop,
bad
cop on the cops.
Yes, okay. And we'd have to probably do more bad cop than good cop.
Yeah, we do good cop, bad cop on the bad cop, bad cops.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes. But of course, the power of police unions is very strong, has been for decades now. Right now in Los Angeles County, several sheriff deputies were involved in the murder of Andres Guardado, who's an 18-year-old guard for a body shop who was killed. The footage got removed. But right now, they kind of have a pretty big handle on the district attorney's office in Los Angeles.
Yeah, as they do with just about every city in America. And I believe since 2005, roughly 15,000 Americans have been murdered by police. And I believe the number is still 3 officers have been convicted of actual murder which
Right.
is a conviction rate of basically zero.
It's, yes, very low, and that's got to change. We can't keep going like this. There has been some movement in places like San Francisco. The DA there, Chesabuddin, has announced that he's stopping taking testimony seriously from police who have records of misconduct. So somebody has a history of lying.
Test of lying has gone into the mainstream.
Right.
People know what it is. I mean, really, it's like a promise between the prosecution and the cops, and the cop union and everything. They all know they're going to lie on the stand. Like, that's what they all do.
It's an institutional bias, that's for sure. And that's why you need outsiders coming in and getting elected to these DA seats, like Boudin, who has been pilloried by the police community in San Francisco.
Maybe it's because they're putting their hand on the Bible and they don't respect that anymore. Maybe if we switched it to like a copy of American Sniper or something, you think that
or
would
like
do
a 24-pack of Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
I think that might
do it.
be better. But yeah, there's a lot of super PACs out there. And if you look at the way that these unions are sort of finessing the political system in a place like Long Island, they have a very powerful police union that's a super PAC. And
Fun fact, I lived in New York for 12 years. Long Island is 75% cop. It really is.
I think that by now it might be 80, but Copland, I think, was based on Long Island.
Right.
But if you look at the rise of that super PAC, it's coincided with a rise in the income of the police officers, who are now some of the most highest paid in the nation because of their political influence.
Nice. Well, all right, you've depressed the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
What do we got else? What do we got next?
Well,
what do we got else? I like that. That's a new expression. I've just made it popular. What do we got else?
What do we got else? As the British would say, which brings me to my next story from across the pond in the land of the UK. Also sort of a sad story, at least for some people. A Labour MP who was the Shadow Secretary of Education has been sacked, which is their term for fired. That is real. But she shared an article on social media that was an interview with an actress, Maxine Peake, who was discussing the George Floyd murder. And she said that, the training that a lot of police officers in the United States get, that comes from Israel. Israel comes over, they train people.
True.
It's the fact that this is the case. And it was called anti-Semitic, the article.
Facts are known to often be anti-Semitic.
You said it. But yeah, she got scrutinized for that. And just for the act of sharing the article, Rebecca Long Bailey, who's the Shadow Education Secretary, was kicked off the cabinet. And she's a woman who challenged the current leader, Keir Starmer.
And for Americans that may not be following all this basically in Britain they used this fake anti-Semitism scandal against Labour the same way the Russiagate bullshit was used against Bernie Sanders and his followers here in America.
Right.
So it's very similar. It's just like, oh well, we won't do the Russian thing. We'll do the anti-Semitism thing.
Right, and they don't actually. The thing is, they don't actually care about it because it's not as if anti-Semitism isn't an issue in places like the UK. But there's another MP, Rachel Reeves, who's towards the right wing of the Labour Party, and she lobbied for a statue of Nancy Astor, who's an MP from half a century ago, who praised Hitler. It was a virulent anti-Semite, and there's been no attention paid to that from Keir Starmer, who's the new Labor leader.
Well, that's the thing is there is anti-Semitism, but by using it in a completely cynical way to try and destroy Jeremy Corbyn and stuff like that, it actually undermines the ability to call anti-Semitism on real anti-Semites.
Right.
So it actually it's a terrible and horrifying thing that is being done against the Labor Party over there. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you.
And here are your headlines from the future. On Monday, you'll read, to prove bravery, Trump supporters asked to replace handshakes with hello coughs. I love a good hello cough. And a week from now, you'll learn, in quiet moment, Donald Trump reveals he fears wearing a mask would rob America of his bloated, makeup-caked, multi-chinned, burnt sienna frontage. You can't deny that. And on Tuesday, depressed police officer feels brutalizing citizens just not as fun now with everyone talking about it. That's our show. But if you're watching this on YouTube, please take note. We will soon no longer be putting the full episodes on YouTube due to their heavy censorship of us. Instead, full episodes will be available on the free app. And you can get it at portable.tv/download. It's a free streaming app. We will still be putting up segments on YouTube, just not the full episodes. Also, grab your copy of my political comedy book at leecampbook.com. Until next time, good night and keep fighting. Oh, shit. God. I'm missing a shoe. I had 2 shoes. Anyway. Let me get to the point. There's a brand. Thanks. All of our content, Redacted Tonight's content, is now at a brand new free app called Portable TV. Okay, you can get every episode. It's uncensored, no bleeps, no commercials, all at Portable TV. You can grab it for free, and then I can follow you everywhere you go. I mean, I have been anyway, but this will be less awkward. So go get it. All right, go ahead. Take both shoes this time.